workshop put on by the Beverly Hills PTA Council. My name is Lynn. All right, now, Mark L. Brenner, who is a marriage and family therapist, which means that he is a licensed therapist, is going to do his workshop tonight on the 4 essential habits to prepare your child for life, raising an adult. Okay? So, with no further ado, Mark, I'll let you take it over.
Lynn, thank you. And those that know Lynn know what a superb job she does for the community. Relentless, tireless worker on behalf of the community and all of your children. And let's give her a nice round of applause. She's a real worker bee, and I'd follow her anywhere. So I want to welcome you tonight to my Parent Fitness Training Workshop, and that's what this is called, a Parent Fitness Training Workshop. And I kind of parallel this to really the physical fitness model. And in the physical fitness model, we all know that works and gives us our results when we follow the program. Parent fitness training also will give you the result. And I break this talk down into 3 areas. Just like in physical fitness training, you have the philosophy, right? And what is the philosophy? A healthy body is a healthy mind. You buy into that, and you have an incentive and a motivation to want to get physically fit. The second part to getting physically fit is what? Your diet. Basically, combination of carbs and protein, what you're putting in, the fuel you put into your body will in fact determine your energy level and to a very large extent the end result. And finally, you have your exercise. And those are your routines, whether you're doing stretching, cardio, you're going to do weights to bring your muscle mass to be stronger. These are the 3 areas. And parent fitness training also has 3 areas, and we also begin with a philosophy. And I want to go right into what our philosophy is. It's elegantly simple, but profound. If you change the parent's reaction, you change the child's behavior. This is the supposition, the proposition of everything that I will talk about tonight. If you remember one thing, it will be this platform. This is the philosophy, because invariably, as Len says, I'm in private practice. I just don't do workshops, although I do a lot of those, and I do a lot of public speaking and a lot of television. I am in private practice. And invariably, parents come to me and they need to change their child's behavior because he or she may be oppositional, defiant, backtalk, rude, all the things that are happening within our culture and our society that really 50 years ago didn't exist in the same way as it does today, and we want to stop that behavior. But the fact of the matter is that the change you want to see in your children will first begin with the change you will notice in yourself. And we're going to talk about some things tonight that I think will surprise you, and they're going to be counterintuitive.
And I think in our day and age, in our society, we have to open up and we have to be able to change the way that we're dealing with them in order to be able to get the reaction back that we need from them.
And that's exactly it. That's a mother already recognizing that before we could ask something from the child, we got to begin to notice our reactions. Does anyone recognize what this is?
Satin thin mirror.
That's right. It's one of those funny mirrors. You see them at circuses. Now, when we look in a mirror like that, there's an expectation. We know that as we look into that mirror, you're going to see a distorted body. The legs will look a little longer. The upper body will be wider, thinner. It's depending upon your own physiology. But the expectation is we know we're going to look funny. But what happens when we don't look into a funny mirror? In fact, we look into a regular mirror. Do we really know what we look like? Are we really aware of what our body language is, for example? You can't imagine how many parents do not know what they look like. Really, they'll sit like this. Here you see a mother or a father. We showed those visual images. Or we'll see facial expressions. All kinds of facial expressions that are not matching what our words are. In the home, there's typically what we call a tone. That's the pitch. Are we screaming? Are we yelling? What is the sound of our voices? And finally, last but not least, we have our words. You know, I often wish that words would come like medicine in a bottle. Caution, certain words have side effects. We don't realize how impactful our words are because they hit like fists. See, as adults, we can say things, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But for children, when they hear certain things, very, very hard for them to forget what it is they've heard. So we've already started out by looking at what our philosophy is. If we change our reactions, we change the child's behavior. But our reactions are really our nonverbal language. And that's why we say, do our faces match our words? Because kids are going to say, Mom, are you upset? Dad, are you angry? No, I'm not. Go to your room. Mom, you look like she was crying. No, I'm not. Denying. It's crazy making. Basically teaching the child, don't trust what you see. Has major impact later in life where a child no longer trusts their instincts. It's very, very dangerous. We're going to touch upon that a little later. Here's a video.
This baby, called by her mother, would like to cross over, but she can't seem to make herself do it. The apparatus is called a visual cliff. One side of a plexiglass sheet is painted. The other side is transparent, creating the illusion of a big drop.
Typical baby from 8.5 months of age on won't cross that if you give them $1 million. That's the same for animals.
The question is, can the baby be influenced to cross or not, solely by the parent's expression?
And he looks up at you, that's when we want you to look scared. Now, can you get the mouth a little bit? Okay, that's good. Okay.
The baby looks at the drop, then checks with his mother. The baby drops down and backs away. So even when the drop is shallow, the baby won't cross when warned off by his mother's facial expression. Now, what will happen if the mother smiles?
Once she smiled, he picked up on that and was trying to come across. He turned around and started treating this like a step, but he was definitely trying, and his behavior changed when she smiled and let him know it was okay.
There are a variety of situations that babies want to understand rules about what's okay or not. Certainly after 12 months of age, this is the case. In fact, from our studies in the home, there's reason to believe that it happens more often with the voice than with the face. with mom in another part of the room, or possibly even in another room, and indicating to the child her emotional evaluation about a certain situation.
This is a marvelous video. This is about 40 years old, this video. Very few people have seen this. And this is an infant 18 months old, already getting the language, the nonverbal language from the mother, letting the child know what's okay. And that's when you think back when your kids were smaller. And I know many of you here have older kids. We're going to talk about that. But you remember when they would fall? First thing is they look up at you. Why? They want to know if they're okay. They don't know. So if the mother has anxiety, she looks scared, the child immediately thinks something is wrong with me and begins to adapt those early patterns, how the mother reacts to life and how the mother or father reacts to his stresses as well. Very, very important. So much so that even in infancy, as the child is feeding on the bottle or on the breast and it looks up at the mother, many parents actually believe that the infant is looking at the mother. But the infant is not looking at the mother. In fact, the infant doesn't even know that's the mother. They think the mother's face is their face. That's their first indication of what they are. So if a mother is in a postpartum depression, she's having anxiety, milk isn't coming in at the right time, the right tempo, things are stressful in the house, the infant gets a sense something's not right. It's not an intellectual thing because we're talking 6 months old, but already the nervous system, which is still getting wired, things aren't right. And that's so important for us as we move forward. What are we telling our kids today by the way we look when it's time for them to do their homework? We need to have a family discussion. We don't see our faces. By the time we're done with tonight, you're going to be very aware of your bodies, your faces, your voice, your tone, and then finally, your words. In the 1950s, we used to have what's known as a sandwich board that they did advertising on the street corners. We don't see that too much today. Whether it's apartment buildings or, for rent and studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or a luncheonette with a hot meal, people would walk around in the streets of New York, 2 blocks away, great sandwiches. This is a psychological sandwich board that I've kind of put together to illustrate even more so, and we're going to stay on this theme of body language a little bit longer so it inculcates into what it is we're talking about right now. We all have sandwich boards, myself included. And it's only a room for a few words. And I always say to parents, what's your sandwich board? When your kids come home, what does it say? It's only a few words. Or your husband comes home. What does it say? So if we look at a couple of words that might go on that sandwich board, right? Moody, serious. In other words, basically what? Do not disturb. Bad mood, things didn't go well, but we're not communicating it, but somehow, husband comes home, all right, I know what mood she's in, okay? I don't even know if I'm going to get dinner. So we want to erase that, and because we don't want the do not disturb. We want to have other words that tell our children what it is about us that we want them to know. And here are the words that we want our children to be familiar with. Helpful, trusted, safe, and finally, feeling. This is the context of what we should be carrying around as our sandwich boards, because we're wondering why our kids don't open up to us. They really don't. When they're young, they're much more fluent, even though they're nonverbal in a lot of ways. They're letting us see. They're taking us things. You want this? Look, Mommy, Daddy. But as they get older, they're shutting down, because the truth is, they don't feel safe. They don't feel trust. We think, unwittingly, we believe we're communicating it, and it's going to be clearer that we can do better. So much so that create a paradigm change in the family. So let's look at the most secret, powerful language of all, non-verbal language. This is the behavioral sciences. Body language communicates 50% of what we really mean. The way I'm sitting here. Open, available, relaxed. It's telling you, you've got something on your mind, you know, I'm not going to be making fun, I'm not going to be humiliating, there's an openness about myself, I'm comfortable with myself, I'm not hiding anything. Don't need to. But if my body language doesn't register that, you're going to start to make an assessment of me, even before I say anything. Voice tonality, 40%, just by the way I talk. Are you listening for a nervousness? Am I stuttering? Does my voice fluctuate? Do I seem unsure? All these things you're calibrating about me. You're even figuring out if you like me, you don't like me. And kids do that too. Your own kids do that. They're hearing your voice. Do you sound nervous? Do you sound anxious? Do you sound like you're going to trick them? They're experts in nonverbal language, children, just as animals are, because that's their instinct. They're always sniffing and smelling. Words themselves, ladies and gentlemen, a mere 10%. It's just incredible. 10%. And I love words. It's the poetry of life. And yet, it really only contributes 10%. And the truth is, parents talk way too much anyway. Moralizing, lecturing, kids shut down. They know, here comes another lecture by Dad. I could tell his face, he's serious, he's angry. So we wind up the bottom line. Body language and voice is 90% of our message. And we need to know how we sound. So we want to stop, think before we do. And isn't that what we tell our children? Kids, stop and think about it. But are we stopping and thinking about it? Which is why I titled my talk in my new book, which will be out in about 3 or 4 months. My manuscript I will make available at the end of tonight's talk, called Raising an Adult. That's the context for everything I'm talking about. Not raising children, raising an adult. Because if we speak to the potential of children, you will get a different result. But the truth of the matter is, how many parents themselves are stuck in childlike behavior? They tantrum. They're moody. They're up and down on the roller coaster. So, if we're patient in one moment of anger, we escape 100 days of regret. Here's a father with the correct body language. Watch this.
Can we call Mom?
You can call Mom, but not right now. We're going to be going to dinner right now.
Come on, please.
Well, we're going to be going to dinner right now, and after we finish dinner, you can call Mom.
Screw you.
You know, that's a timeout. You owe me a timeout. So you broke the rules. So go over there and sit down. And
Watch how he handles this. Watch the father. You've never seen this. This is a man who's gone through parent fitness training. Watch him. Watch the boy. Can you turn it up?
Can everything else here?
Yeah. I think it's as loud as it gets. Yeah. He's just waiting. Gave him a time break. Look at him. How many fathers do you know that would sit like that after?
okay, timeout's up. Why don't you come over here and sit down with me?
Watch what he says to him.
Paul.
Sorry.
That's okay. But I want to tell you, I really like the way you handled that timeout. You were respectful. You responded to the consequences of breaking a rule, which is taking a time out. And you did it promptly. You he did it without screaming or yelling or using bad words or name calling. You just went, walked over there, you sat down, and you took care of business. And I like seeing that in you. That's a quality that I like to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, this is someone who really understands the principles of parent fitness training. We're going to get into that, these 4 essential habits that Lynn was referring to prepare your child for life. That's my claim. You do these 4 habits, you will not have any parent-child issues. You really won't. Now, this is very counterintuitive. This is a boy, defiant boy, just a back talk, filthy language, but his father didn't engage with him and remained calm. And he could see that his father wasn't going to engage. And in the beginning, this took a month or so till the father got much more relaxed, because it's hard to look at a kid who's been disrespectful. You want to, do some very serious things to that kid. But obviously, if a child is using backtalk and being disrespectful, something has been leading up to that. There's a breakdown within the relationship. We're going to address that a little bit tonight. But the point is, you see his body language. You see the father just like this. The kid is sensing that energy. We're going to talk about energy level. Again, very counterintuitive responses where that child knows that I can count on my dad not to lose it. I can count on my father to keep it together, which gives me a sense that I can keep it together. This is hard to do, but I know of no other alternative to helping reel in a child who is out of control, and I'm going to show you how to do it. First, I wanted you to see a video clip of something that typically you probably have never seen before. That's the philosophy. Change the reaction, you change your child's behavior, all based on primarily nonverbal applications. Now let's talk about diet, the second phase. So in the diet, at the gym, it's what you eat. But here, our diet as parents is what we let in the front door. Our diet is our culture. What culture do you have? Do you bribe? Do you manipulate each other in your families? What's your culture? What's your diet? Is everything a negotiation? Do you trick each other in your family? Do you speak the truth? Sometimes, and other times you lie. Do kids hear you lie? See, this is the culture. This is the second phase, the diet. What's the diet in your home? Now, I make a lot of house calls. 35% of my practice is going into the homes to help parents kind of put the wheels back on, add some structure to the family system. And I look for the culture of the family. And the culture is our diet. See the dad there? The plug-in? It's a big topic. Each one of these I could probably talk about an hour just on these buzz topics. Plugging in. We live in an electronic age. And let me tell you, we are all plugged in way too much. There are electronic babysitters. We must be very careful about what we're plugging our kids into. And I want to tell you that kids, and I don't want to sound, or I don't mean to be new age here, with that Wayne Dyer and get connected to Source and Zen, but energy level is a huge component to how we bring kids up and how we react to them. They're used to that frenetic, fast, cuts, music, iPods, MP3s, internet, instant messaging, dial-up, cell phones, DVDs. Let me tell you, it's out of control. Absolutely out of control. And I understand as parents, because I'm a parent, I don't just look in the research side of this. I understand what you each go through, and it does give you a much-needed break. But basically what you're doing is you're teaching your children to detach from the family, from their brothers, from their sisters, and ultimately detach from themselves. Because, you know what? Put an MP3 player or an iPod on any one of us, put some Sinatra music on. Hey, we're going to enjoy it. It's hard to not want to, it's like, to leave. This is great music. So we keep plugging them in, but no, they don't want to plug out. We have to dial down their stimulation. And, you know, we stock our SUVs like they're 7-Elevens. Food, potato chips, water bottles, juices. I mean, you'd think you'd be going on a 10-day Winnebago somewhere, and you're going 6 blocks to a Starbucks or a Coffee Bean. And you know what? It's not just Beverly Hills. I travel all over, whether it's Chicago, Miami, New York. Believe me, this is all over the United States. We plug in way, way too much as adults, and we plug our children in. And with that comes a spoiling. And with that comes lower frustration. Kids don't have high tolerances for anything. We don't have high tolerances. There's no time today with the electronics to reflect. Nope, you need to react. People want that information now. Mark, can you be available? Can I give it some thought? No. Make a decision. We got someone else lined up. Everything, the BlackBerries, the instant messaging, it has really arrived, and it's wonderful, but we're paying a price that actually hasn't been factored in to our emotional development because we haven't caught up to all this technology. And we have to deal with it once and for all and know how to set boundaries and limits. Otherwise, it will take us over. So this is our diet, right? This is our diet. I show 2 buttons because it's my belief, and it's no surprise that children know how to push our buttons. But why? Why? They did the installation. They know us. They know all the wiring. They know the backdoor triggers. They know how to get what they want, when they want it. They know how to push the button for mom, different than the button for dad, different than the button for grandma, different than the button for the teachers. Not good. It's only one button. Off. So let's move now into pushing the buttons, and each of us react in different ways. I've identified 6 different types of parents, and everyone in this room, including myself, fall into one of these 6 different parents. Let's see who we are, okay? To ourselves, but if you're here with your husbands or wives, you'll know your own patterns. The monarch parent. This is also known as the bully parent, kind of like, do what I say. Hierarchy in the family is what? I'm on top, you're at the bottom. Power. Children who want power in a family have a mother or father, ego-driven, power-driven. Do as I say. Typically, that's what we find. Barking orders, excess limit setting. I call them the behavior police. Always ready to give out a behavior ticket. What did I tell you? Cut it out. Jessica, come over here. What'd you do that for? The monarch parent. Let's look at another parent. You're seeing yourselves, okay. By the way, I always recommend a timeout for these parents. Then we have the permissive mother or the permissive father. Most of you probably don't belong in this category, but these typically are parents who are really afraid to set limits. They want to be their kids' friends. Rejection is just too much to bear. They have so many needs themselves that the last thing they want is their kid to say, I hate you, Mommy. Daddy, you're the meanest man in the world, and I wish I had a new father. The permissive. They lack proper boundaries. They're really not tuned into what's going on education-wise. They don't know their teachers too well, always surprised by the homework. They don't realize what the field trips are. They're just not in touch. The umbrella parent. Today it's known as the helicopter parent. Protecting. The Beverly Hills culture here often falls into that. Always protecting. Holding their children like trophy children. They got the best camps, the best little toys, the best tutors. The kids have the best of everything. The best skis, private instructors. But these children, unless they got the burn inside to be a champion, typically will not rise to that level. They've been robbed of testing themselves against the world at large. There's a low-grade anxiety, often afraid to really compete, to mix it up into the world. They are protected. The umbrella is always over. The parents are hovering. Not good, not conducive to bringing out the best in that particular child. Typically, parents will not teach the value of coming through the ranks. And we remember our grandfathers and our fathers, even if we worked for them, we started at the bottom. Today, these kids start at the top. They're in line to be the next vice president or president without really working for it. The seesaw parent. This is our fourth parenting style. What is the seesaw parent? Moods. Up and down. One day mom's in a good mood, next day she's in a bad mood. Dad says this is okay, 5 minutes later it's not okay. They never know when the hammer of discipline will fall. Everything is up for grabs. Dinner hour, homework time, pickups at school, typically mom or dad always late. Nothing feels safe. Seesaw, up and down, up and down. Also a low-grade anxiety about life and themselves. The fifth parenting style. We don't see too much of this, but every once in a while, the absentee parent, the no-show parent. No soccer games, they're not there for the basketball. All of you do not fall into this category because you're at every game, pre-game, before the game, after the game, and you're very attentive. But typically the absent parent is just not around. And we could see by the next photograph that that child invariably is at the window, longing to connect with that parent. Typically they'll have attachment issues, abandonment issues. And finally, we have our last parenting style that all of us aspire to be. And that is what I call the guidepost parent. The guidepost parent, this is where children experience limits, but within freedom. There's no name-calling, no humiliation. We reject the behavior, but we never reject the child. Very, very different. And parents allow the expression of all feelings, but they don't allow the expression of all behavior. Little Jonathan can be as angry as he wants, but he doesn't show disrespect. He cannot like whatever he wants not to like, from grandma to grandpa to his brother to his sister. But he can't behave like a little animal. There's a big difference between allowing feelings and allowing behavior, and we'll talk about how to do that. So if we look at the guidepost parent, and we see the visual image that I've attached to it, it's an open field and a fence. Why? Because when kids are inbounds, we don't need to interfere. They're out in the field, they're playing. But when they get out of bounds is when we need to say whatever it is we say or whatever it is we do. So it's a guidepost. They're just guides along the way. Not a lot of talking, but when we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Let's talk about, while we're on the subject of parents, let's talk just a moment about the marriage factor. I like this topic here, the marriage factor. We hear a lot about the marriage and how that is the symbol for how kids will grow up. Let's call it the determining factor for their future relationships. But I believe, maybe I'm the only one, I don't read too much about this, I believe that it's not the marriage that is the determining factor in a child's happiness. Of course, we all want to see a great marriage, and we want a marriage-centered family, not child-centered, right? The marriage should come first. But suppose you're in a high-conflict marriage, always arguing with your husband or with your wife or divorced. That could be. What are the prospects that your children will learn how to interface with the world? And the prospects are very, very high if you have a healthy relationship. See, it's the relationship, because those are going to be the tools, and that's what the child's sensibilities will be on how people relate. Do they listen? Do they shut down? Do they degrade? Is people being made fun of? Those are going to be the cues that will give a child the winning chance. Because after 25 or 30 years doing this, I've come to believe that people's problems in life come down to two words. Two words: unhappy relationships. That's it. It's always unhappy relationships. And we need to provide children the tools so that when they grow up, even if mom and dad weren't too happy, because they were close to dad or close to mom, they kind of know what that looks like. I know what a healthy relationship looks like. I can do that with kids at school, and as I get into high school, I know what that looks like as well. So in fact, it's the parenting relationship. Next, we move into habits. Habits. These are our basically reactions to our children and to other people that we want to break. And I show that visual there because we want to shatter our habits. And I don't think of it, I don't call it a condition, although typically there are diagnoses for all kinds of behavior aberrations and things of this sort. But I call it a habit because it's more hopeful, and we can break habits. Condition sounds like you got to live with it forever. Skin condition, you gotta, whatever your condition is, some psychological condition, you feel like you can never get out. So let's just call it, what I say, bad habit behavior. And we're here to break that bad habit behavior. Now, while we're about to break the habit, let's talk a little bit about medication. Because we live in a McDonald's culture. 5-minute McDonald's remedies. Quick fixes. And we have to really be careful before we prescribe meds for our children. I mean, really careful. Because in a late, this is serious stuff. Because kids, and if there's a biological basis, I'm all for it. I'm an advocate of medicine. It can bring an adult or a child back from the brink of despair. It really can. It can save your life. But we have to know who's a candidate and who isn't. Just because a kid is having a rough time, or he looks a little melancholy, or he's not performing, or he's extra fidgety, doesn't mean we need to pump him with Adderall and Ritalin and Concerta and Prozac and Wellbutrin and a whole array of other pharmacological solutions. Who's a candidate? Because I really believe that kids, more than pills, they need skills. Because even if the pills work, just to kind of bring the temperature down, we still need to give them the skills on how to deal with the world at large. So we have to be very, very careful. Psychiatrists today, within one visit, they'll prescribe to you whatever you want. On the first visit, honestly. They don't have to know your history. It's like a business model in a sense. Pills, pills. Pill-happy society. This is a great cartoon. This is my favorite cartoon. I send this to school teachers all over the country. It's a doctor talking to a patient. This is what he says. We can't find anything wrong with you, so we're going to treat you for symptom deficit disorder. People love a diagnosis. They love it. I'm going to the doctor. I hope he finds something. Part of them wants that cure. And believe me, we can manufacture it in our minds. Where there's a spoiledness about us as well. We want that quick fix, that plug-in mentality. Oh yeah. So, skills, not just pills. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Too many clicks. So now we're ready for parent fitness training. That's kind of what the parents are lined up. And tonight's talk is going to be about the 4 habits to prepare your child for life. I gave you a little intro. We have the philosophy, change your reaction, you'll change the child's behavior. I've given you the diet. What's the culture in the home? Is it spoiling, bribing, lying, conniving, manipulating? What's the culture in your home? That's your diet. And now it's time for us to go to the exercises. Your exercises are going to be only 4. They're going to be your routines, if you will. And here's your first exercise. And this is all you need to do, just 4 things. Habit 1, mirror the moment. Mirror the moment. And this is huge. I want to spend a few minutes to talk about what this because there's 4 kinds of moments that we have. Right? We have a feeling moment. We have a doing moment. It's kind of an action. We have a seeing moment. We're seeing something. And we have a thinking moment. And your job as parents is to mirror, reflect the moment, to give it a language. It's important that we know how to mirror the moment because I want you to think of life for a child early on, from early to as they get older, as a foreign film with subtitles. Pull away the subtitles, and they only have half the picture. Put in the words, layers in a context, a texture. And children get confused by what's happening, especially children who are defiant and oppositional. And they have certain predisposition for their own impulsivity. They can't always interpret life's experiences correctly. So you as a parent will be there because you're very wise parents. You're all very calm parents. And you're going to give a thoughtful expression to help navigate through that particular moment. So if it's a feeling moment, you're going to say, you're pretty excited by the way you got that to work. You look joyful right now. I could see that. You're putting a word to an experience. You're building what's called an emotional vocabulary. We know that's important, right? Because kids don't have language, hit more, frustrated more, throw things, language. The civility isn't there. Children who have language are able to express themselves in a whole different range because they have the words to tell you. Because as guidepost parents, which you all will become, or perhaps you already are, you've given your children the correct word to match the situation. Because sometimes kids say, I'm mad. But they're not mad, they're frustrated. And there's a difference. And we want to let them know what that is. And then a child may have a seeing moment. Maybe they saw mom and dad fight. And typically parents say, just go to your room, just go to your room. Instead, you want to say, you saw mom yell at me, didn't you? You don't like that. Letting the child know, narrating, reflecting, mirroring the moment, letting the child see that what they saw really happened. They can trust themselves, and I can trust Dad. Dad tells the truth. Doesn't pretend something is that isn't. He's reliable. So, you've got a thinking moment. Jacob, it's time for homework. And you could see he's thinking, is he going to do it or isn't going to do it? You're deciding whether or not you're going to do it. You're mirroring a thinking moment. Narrating gives even greater incentive for him to make the right choice. Now, he probably won't. We're going to deal with that later. But we want to allow as many opportunities to shape behavior. A feeling moment, a doing moment, a thinking moment, a seeing moment. But I want to tell you especially why this is important. I make a very big deal out of this first habit. Only 4. First habit, mirror the moment. Because there's a special bonus that kids get if you do this accurately. They get to see themselves through your eyes. You see, kids don't know what they look like either. How many adults do you know that are obnoxious, moody, storm out of a room? They actually don't know they're obnoxious. And if we weren't on camera and this wasn't, I might use a couple of graphic epitaphs to really make the point. They are rude. And they're embarrassing to themselves. They can be embarrassing to their own families. But they don't see themselves. Nobody early on let them know what they look like. But when you go Joshua, you're pretty upset by that. You're angry because you know that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. Chicago go like that. Wow, when you do that, looks like you don't want anyone around you. In other words, I'm not solving his problem. I'm just letting him know what he looks like. Doesn't matter that he storms off. What he knows is that that's what he looks like. And he has to deal with himself. Because the revelation is, as much as our hearts ache, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot solve our child's psychological issues. The same way is in this room right now. Doesn't matter how much your husband loves you or how much your wife loves the husband, or you have to solve your own problems. You can get the support, but you have to slay the dragon yourself. And that's why I tell parents, don't ever try to solve the psychological problems of your children, because then you won't be raising an adult. You'll be speaking to the lowest potential of your child, and they get that. If a child has a bad dream, don't tell them that you're going to keep them safe, because maybe you can't. Then they get more angry at you because you said you were going to keep them safe. You can't hold to that. Better to help the child confront that bad dream, that scary boogeyman. And I reveal, I can't go into everything here because tonight's workshop is pretty condensed, but the idea is that with the proper words, we can help that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old solve the difficulties where they can go from victim to victor. And it works, and they emerge victorious. We have to give them the tools to solve their own problems. Very, very important. That's confidence building. That's raising an adult. Mirroring the moment lets a child see who they are. Because without you doing it, probably no one else will. And that child will not know how they are in the world. They'll get their image from you. Not their self-esteem. The self-esteem is a different thing. Let me touch upon that. It's not kind of part of this talk, but I just want to mention a quick thing, because there's a lot of myths about self-esteem. Self-esteem does not come through words of praise. This is phony baloney. I'll tell you the secret of self-esteem. It's very tricky. It's a very heavy concept. It has to be bestowed as a gift to the child when they're very young. Self-esteem is one thing and one thing only: acceptance. If a child feels accepted, that's their self-esteem. If they feel valued. It's not about being smart and giving awards and stickers. This does nothing for self-esteem. I know people worth hundreds of millions who feel worthless inside. And when I say worthless, I mean worthless. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Privately, they go, I'm a loser. They keep chasing self-esteem. It's elusive. Because early on in their life, see, a self-esteem is an attachment thing. A child should never, ever have to work to be accepted. Doesn't matter if they're getting F's. Yes, they're doing the back talk. All of this, they can do any of the aberrant behavior, but they're accepted. And they know they're accepted. There's a big difference on how to give a consequence without negating the human being. Remember, we reject the behavior, but we never reject the child. And I'm sorry to say, many, far too many parents absolutely, unequivocally reject the entire child. There you go again. Daniel, how many times do I have to tell you? That totalizing. I'm a loser. Kid walks off. It's them rejecting. all the hugs and all the Game Boys that you buy does a 0. So let's understand self-esteem, because teachers talk about it, but teachers don't have a clue. The studies are conclusive for those that really understand the evidence-based research on self-esteem. It's not the posters and praise. No. You want to give a child self-esteem? Just accept them. You can hold them to their standards. They can have consequences. They can get whatever grades they're going to get, but they have to know they're accepted. Now, self-esteem is the feeling of being valued. That's it. A feeling of being valued. Self-image, can't give anyone self-image either. That has to be earned. No matter whatever you tell me, unless I feel I'm doing a good job, I won't take in the compliment. Praise has 2 parts, doesn't it? What's the first part? What the parent says means nothing. What's the second part? What the child says to himself. What the child says to himself is the only thing that matters. And we know that as adults. I could tell you, your hair looks fantastic tonight. You look beautiful. But if you don't like your hair, it means nothing, because you know you didn't wash it, you didn't comb it, it's a bad hair day, you're not going to take it in. It means nothing. The words is empty. It's empty. As a matter of fact, it'll probably even be a trigger to make you angry. And there's another part about praise. Be very careful about praise. I talk a lot about this in my book. A lot. Praise puts pressure on a child. You praise a child? Uh-oh, I got to keep doing it. Dad says I'm good at math. Mom says I'm the best artist in the family. My teachers say I got the best voice. I'm the best at kickball. I'm the best. The best, the best, the best. That's it. I'm done. Out of here. So unless you have that kind of champion spirit in you, you'll quit. Yeah. Limit praise. Way down. Take it from 90%, bring it down to 20. What do you do instead? Recognize effort. I write a great deal about this. You sure gave it a full effort. I'll tell you one thing about you, Daniel. You don't quit until you're finished. You worked straight through tonight. You read 12 pages. Well done. He doesn't need praise. And I teach children, never listen to what your teachers say about how good you are. Don't listen to your parents. Listen to yourself. You evaluate yourself so that they don't grow up to be praise junkies. Hey, did I do good? Do they like me? Everybody needs that pat on the back. I want children to be self-reliant. Don't rely on anybody to tell you how you're doing. You tell me how you did. Did you make a full effort? There you go. Doesn't matter that the teacher said it. Matters what you think. And the effort is the word, not my word. John Wooden probably talked more about this than anybody. One of the great humans of our century, the great UCLA coach John Wooden, and his 16 principles, right? In the pyramid of success. Yeah. Effort, not try. Not interested in the word try. Yeah, I tried. No, did you make a full effort? Not an effort, a full effort. Kids know what that means. No, I didn't make a full effort. I'm going to go back and finish. Sure you will. Let me know when you're done. That's the key. I could take 10 kids right now, give them an assignment. They'll come up to me and I'll praise all 10. How great their drawing is. Whatever the drawing happens to be. I'll tell them to draw their family, a park they were at, some camp out trip, whatever it may be. And I'll praise. Wow, this is a fantastic picture. Look at the way you drew your dad and the way this is fantastic. I've never seen a face like that. It's fantastic. And I'll go down with each of the children. After I give them my compliments, they'll stop. Because I kept building it up. In their mind, they go, I'm done. This adult said it's great. What do I need to keep working on it? But if I don't put evaluation, who cares what I think? So invariably, kids love to show me their work. And I'll look at it. Look what you've done. Look at the colors you've used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 colors. 16 stripes. Look at the shapes. This thing goes on. And I have more too. Boom, back to the table, they're working on it. Next one, each one, no evaluation, just description. Each one of those children will continue with their projects until they're satisfied. Who cares what I think? It's only important what they think. To measure themselves against themselves, that they're self-starters, self-motivated, and not praise junkies the way so many adults with their insecurities are, chasing affirmations. Why? They're chasing one thing, something they didn't get in childhood. Acceptance. Can't you just like me, just for who I am? I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best looking, but somehow I don't fit in this family. Kids know that. They don't feel like they fit. It's very sobering. Alfred Adler, one of the greatest psychiatrists from the 1920s, developed that principle of individual psychology, as he called it. And his whole proposition is, as humans, we have to fit. I walk into a classroom, I could always tell the kids that don't fit. They're always jumping around. Not on task with the other kids. They know they don't fit. When you know you don't fit, you can't hear anything. Because you don't fit. They want to fit, they don't know how to fit. And in the family system as well. I walk in, I see kids, 3 kids in a family, 5 kids in a family, and I watch who's getting the attention, who's making the mood, who's out of control, who's trying to fit, who's getting the punishments, the yelling. Kids, they want to fit. And so we have to find a way to make them fit so that they can begin to learn. You cannot teach a child unless you can reach a child. That's it. When I go into a home or into a classroom and they go, this kid's not working to his potential, his behavior is off. I have to first calm the behavior down. First have to relax the child before the learning. Can't get him going on math and science unless he's getting comfortable with himself. He goes, whew, I guess I don't have to fight you. All right, what do we need to do? Connection, developing relationship connections. So that's a big thing, is mirroring the moment.
There's a highly choreographed, hardwired relationship between the thinking areas of the brain and the feeling areas of the brain.
It is not possible to have a properly working reason system without having a properly working emotion system. What you think, what you create, the problems you solve, the way you reason, don't exist in a vacuum. There is always the backdrop of emotion and feeling. We are not thinking machines. We are feeling machines that think. There's an old idea that emotion is not at all a good thing because it is difficult to control. But emotion is extremely useful. Emotion is not a luxury. Emotion is part and parcel of the mechanisms that allow us to stay alive.
Lives are governed by emotions and the interaction of emotions with our thought processes. That's who we are. We are emotional people. There's no such thing as a non-emotional moment in life.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Aren't we emotional people? And yet, what do we do with our kids? We shut them down. Don't you talk like that. You have to love Grandma. She's sweet. I hate my brother. No, you don't. They're temporary. Sometimes the girls will come home. I hate this girl in school. She's so mean. 2 weeks later, they're best friends. Moods, emotions, they change. They fluctuate. But we shut them down. And when you shut down an emotion, what's going to happen? You don't trust. What happens when your husbands shut you down, ladies? How angry does it get you? Lack of trust. You're laughing. Why? Okay? Emotions are important. Men are results-oriented, we know that. But we have to cycle through. We have to understand what it means. We have to allow somebody to connect with us. I show this picture of a fetus, like 30 weeks old, already with a smile on its face. How can that be? Getting wired, emotionally getting wired. I say that because so many times we put emphasis on intellect. But I tell you, the heart has to keep pace with the intellect. Emotion comes before reason, just like the blossom comes before the fruit. Because everybody says, it's the intellect, the intellect. But without the intellect, you don't have compassion. You don't have empathy. You can't make good judgments in life. You can make money, but you can't make relationships.
Professor Edward Tronick of the University.
I'm gonna skip forward. This was an amazing video. Now,
Here is...
I want to show you this. This was a fantastic movie clip. I love this movie, Ordinary People, with Mary Tyler Moore. That was Robert Redford's first movie, Ordinary People. And I want you to look at this scene. And after you look at this scene, I want you to tell me what you think happened. We'll have a little discussion here. It's marvelous, just about a minute and a half. Tell me what's going on right here in the scene. It's a mother talking to her teenage son.
starting to grow out. It's looking better.
I was thinking about the pigeon. You know, the one that used to hang around the garage? And how he used to get on top of your car and he'd take off when you pulled out of the driveway.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember how scared I used to get every time I started the car.
Yeah, that was the closest we ever came to having a pet. You remember Buck asked you, he tried to talk you into getting a dog? Do you remember that? And he said, how about if it's just the size of a little football?
You know, that animal next door, that Pepper or Pippin, whatever his name is, he's not a very friendly dog. I don't care what Mr. McGreary says, he's really not.
The retriever that was down the street for
And every
sale.
time I go up into his backyard and I try to get him now, here! Put that on if you're going to stay out here, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, what was that scene about? Just call it out. Yeah.
She just can't open up emotionally. She's totally detached. She was totally shut down.
She was shut down. Okay. Give me some detail.
He was trying to engage her and explain about different parts of his life and his childhood, and she just couldn't go there emotionally. She just had to. And when it started getting a little hot and heavy, she had to stand up and remove herself.
She removed herself.
And he's very angry.
Excuse me?
The son is obviously very angry. He's so desperate he starts to bark.
Okay. Why was he barking? For attention? Okay.
Well, he's trying, I mean...
It's a wonderful scene, yes?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. He's
Yeah.
blaming her in a large part for a lot of the unhappiness in their lives, and she's shutting down. She's feeling the attack, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or she's feeling it as an attack.
Right.
And therefore just cutting it off.
Right. Now, we're in the first habit, right? What is the first habit? What do we need to do? Mirror the moment. Reflect the moment. So here is a mom trying to connect with her son. It started off pretty good. Gee, your hair is growing out. They're sitting down. She seems like things are okay. And she never, after that point, she never mirrored the moment, did she? No. It was about her. And she couldn't give the feedback. couldn't make herself emotionally available. What was important to this boy? Tell me. We don't even need to see the movie. It's a clip.
He was never accepted.
What's that?
He was never accepted.
Okay. That's an interpretation. What else could it be?
How to make connection with you.
What did he want? What was he telling her?
Oh,
He wanted something. What did he want his mother to know?
That he'd always wanted.
He always wanted a dog.
He always wanted a dog.
Or really, I think it was his brother wanted the dog. That's what he said. Basically saying, you never hurt us.
You never hurt
You
us.
didn't pay attention.
Right, because when it got uncomfortable, what did she do? Walked away. Shut down, not available. And so he barked at the end. That makes perfect sense. He was talking about a dog. She didn't hear anyway. It made perfect sense. So it was a quick physical reaction to something that his mother triggered.
She was afraid of dogs anyway.
Now she's afraid, so now it's about her. Exactly, she had to put her own fears in. Remember Mr. McGree, that little dog? And then the thing, the bird, the pigeon flying away, and then she stood up, remembering this little pipsqueak of a dog because she was anxious about the dog. It was all about her. It was all about her, her ego, her oxygen. Instead of being there and saying, you have a lot to tell me, don't you? Yeah. Take your time. I want to hear every word you have to say. Do we say that to our kids, by the way?
Yes.
Beautiful. Take your time. I'm going to listen to every word you have to say. Something most kids rarely hear. Typically, children don't listen to us because we haven't listened to them. And we haven't listened to them for years. Not in the ways that we think. This is very sobering because sometimes I can come in, we have a lot of jokes, we laugh, coffee in the back, but we don't walk away with concrete skill sets. And tonight, I want you to walk away with concrete skills. Knowing how to listen with the eyes and with the heart, and knowing when not to talk. See, I can talk for hours, and I do talk for hours, but when I'm with children, pithy, tight, to the point. Rarely do I talk more than 30 seconds. Mirror the moment, a doing moment, a feeling moment, a thinking moment, a seeing moment. Just real quick, provide a little text, letting them know we're in tune, and it also shows them that we're in the moment with them. We're not detached. It's like someone saying, how was your day? Oh, yeah, all right, see you later. They weren't really with you because we're in a sound bite culture, not a conversation. You know what this is here? What? What happened? What happened? Who is?
Romeo.
Romeo's over here.
That's okay.
Yeah.
He's probably working hard.
Wait.
You didn't
I'll
get
tell
your son to
let-
do his Zoom.
Let me tell you why. Last night he had to work the Beverly Hills board.
Yeah, he's right.
That board meeting was till midnight.
It's beautiful. Let him be, let him be. That's okay.
How can we handle this, doctor?
I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you one thing
I was getting ready to wait.
with respect. Let him sleep and let him enjoy himself. He's a man who's worked hard. Let's honor him. Yeah.
One thing that you should be aware of is that at 8:30, some people will leave.
Okay, good.
Because they have babysitters.
Yeah, no, look, it's, I understand. We have families and, I myself have a family. So we'll wrap it up. And, was that? We're okay?
You're okay.
Okay. So I want to go, I'm not going to be able to give as much to all the other habits, but I do want to move to the fourth habit because it's our most important one. The second one, excuse me?
Could you name the habits?
I'm going to do it right now, and again, it's available in my book. to the extent that any of you would like to have this before I leave, I'll make the manuscript available. Speak with respect. Now, we think we know what that means, but I think by now you're getting a sense that what we think we know probably isn't exactly what we think speaking with respect is. And I go through a whole narration about what it means, in fact, to speak with respect. Here's a father who doesn't do it at all.
Hello here.
You failed 3 subjects.
Yeah, no.
Why didn't you listen to me all year long? Oh, I have no problems. They all want this, but you were always on the computer. You were ready to go play with your friends outside. Now look at the mess that we're in. You got to go to summer school now. If the minute that you're gonna screw up, they're gonna kick you out because you don't have a clue. Now forget about getting a job because you won't have time to get a job now. I don't know what to do anymore. I try to give you the best I can, but it's not working. It's definitely not working.
What parenting style is he? The monarch? Yeah. Kind of a bully. Look at you, you loser. He's been talking to his son like this all his life. He's an angry, bitter man who never reached his own dreams, put it onto his child. His child got it and said, what's the use? It's what I am. Living out that self-fulfilling prophecy. We're going to go through this very quickly. By the way, these are expressions that show respect. I wonder how you might solve this. That's an interesting way to see it. I see. Yeah. I hear every word you're saying. What a dilemma you're in. That's a dilemma. You're not there to solve it. You're there to listen, to generate ideas, to generate discussion. It's not going to be easy. It's a process. Many, many months until we begin to rewire a different conversation in the house. Treat a child as though he's the person he's capable of becoming. Don't embarrass, humiliate, or imitate. Talk with him, not at him. None of this. Eye level, with respect. Talk up, not down. Select your vocabulary, expand it, make it verbose. A larger, more inclusive vocabulary makes children feel smart. And they go, my father is smart. Doesn't keep using the same words. My mother is smart. And here's the 5th one. Listen. Just listen. Remember, parents talk too much, and parents who talk too much are typically weak. And that's how you engage in battle. And kids know that. The code, the DNA of a child is an adult who talks too much are weak. They're afraid to act. Mean what you say what you mean, do it quietly. Consequences are swift, but calm. That's the key. The context. It's calm. That's a father who models manhood, not boyhood. As you want to bring up your son, you have to model what a man is in this world. Just as if you have a daughter, you want to model different behaviors. Opportunities are the same, but there are differences, and we need to respect what they are. Habit 3, moving along. I'm going to get through these in 15 minutes. Enforce limits. This is a big one. Enforce limits. I put the speed there. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Don't tell children you're going to leave if you do this again and you don't leave. I'm going to take this away if you keep doing that and you don't do it. You're not reliable. You have no credibility. They lose complete respect. And they should lose respect. There's no consistency. Only with consistency do children feel safe. And they want that. They may act like they don't, but fundamentally they want the limits. You don't speed because you know you're going to get a ticket. You'll take the chance, but you'll know typically you're going to get it.
How do you handle it when the grandparents get involved in that, do what you say?
Well, this is the thing. Not everybody is going to stay on the same page. So if your kids are with grandparents who are inconsistent, there's nothing you can do. The same way as if you have a wife or a husband who acts disrespectful or screaming or yelling, what can you do? You just simply have to say, or in this case here, with Grandpa, he lets you get away with a lot, doesn't he? Just acknowledge what's happening. don't fix it. Because when you're away, he's not going to do it. But let him know you're a father who sees. See, that alone makes you omnipotent in a certain way. It gives you a certain power. Letting him know that you know. There's a lot more to it, but I'm giving you the basics. In setting limits, it's the ask once rule. Never repeat it twice. Implement it immediately in a quiet way, in a casual way, in a relaxed way. Yes, Len?
One of the questions I have here is what consequences for poor behavior do you recommend?
Okay, all right. Let me talk about that. Consequences. That's a good question. For poor behavior. Well, I define 3 kinds of consequences, Len. Here's the first consequence. It's the natural one. What is a natural consequence? I don't have to give the consequence. My son says he doesn't want a jacket. Let him freeze. Let him freeze. Doesn't let my daughter freeze. Life will give them the consequence. That's what's known as a natural consequence. They didn't wear their helmet. They fell. It's a stitch. Something happened. Whatever it is, life will deal it. Right? The natural consequence. Then we have the logical consequence. Logical consequence is that they didn't study, they didn't do well on a test, they didn't lock up their bike, it got stolen, something, it makes sense. You said that you can watch television if you had finished your homework. They didn't finish the homework. That's logical. They don't have the TV. It makes sense. It fits. It's in proportion to whatever it is that they did. Then we have the unreasonable consequence. That's where parents go too far. This photo was sent to me. A father says he takes his kid for a ride when he acts out. Look at him. Yeah, put him on the end of a car. Whoa! Yeah. Kid was scared. It was a child. It's weird.
Is this real?
Yeah. Now, why am I showing that? Not to scare you, but sometimes we punish so severely that it didn't fit the crime. You're off the basketball team. I'm taking you off the baseball team. You're not going to summer camp. For what? Missing a paper? Not being organized? I don't know what went on. We have to use wisdom. And in the book, yes, Rick. Yeah. Len, you have one more?
Yes, another
Okay.
question from someone.
Okay.
What would you do? You're driving your children, one keeps annoying the other one. He even annoys the driver. The second child keeps saying stop, the first one keeps pestering.
Okay.
What do you do? Do you hide your anger? What do you do to control the situation? And
Okay.
I think a lot of parents find themselves in that situation.
Len, it's a wonderful question, but I have to say to you, somebody is looking for a McDonald's remedy. The first thing that I'm going to do with a family, this is a family where these kids are they're just at each other. And I'm going to have a family discussion. Hey kids, I want to talk with you about a couple of things. What's that? All right. Okay. Thank you. Kids, time for a talk. Boy, there's sure a lot of upset in our car. I noticed when I pick you up from school, Rachel, you're poking Daniel in the back, and Paul, you keep kicking your brother next to you, and they're screaming, and you want to go to the coffee bean, and a lot of yelling. I've been thinking about this, because you're probably wondering, what am I going to do? So I figured it out. So here's what's going to happen. When they're screaming and yelling in the car, I'm going to pull over, and I'm not going to leave until the screaming stops. Now, I know you want to get to where you're going because you want to get home and run around and do what you got to do. And you're going to probably think, oh, I'll only do this for a minute, but I could do this. I'm going to do this for as long as it takes. And I want you to know I'm going to do it each time. And I know you think I'm not going to do it, but we're not going to leave until you're all quieted down. And I'm going to let the social, now this is going to take weeks. See, the question is a great question, but you're going to need to do it in the pure way. And you will get a very, very strong result, because kids hate it when a car stops. They do not like it. But you have to be able to stay calm. Now, if you lose it, don't worry about it. Kids, you know what? This isn't good for me to hear this. And I could see you don't mind it, so I'm going to be outside on the sidewalk. Boom, leave. Open the car door, walk. Where are you going? I'm going to be on the sidewalk. Let me know. Just bang on the window. Let me know when you're working it out. At this point, they're really going at it. Cut it out. You cut it out. Cut it out. They're going to even do it more. But sooner or later, they're going to get their act together. Because let me tell you, nobody wants to stay off to the side of a road. And you got the keys. And there's no radio and all that kind of stuff. So the question is one of a family system. Who's in charge? And this is just a little bit of a larger picture in terms of being in control of yourself. Because when you change your reactions, you will change your child's behavior. Yes?
I think as parents are so afraid of consequences. In other words, you pull off to the side of the road, but you have the tutor in 5 minutes.
That's the
You
way.
pull off to the side of the road, but you have the psychologist in 3 seconds.
Right, I got my occupational therapist. Sure, and it's really true, we're very rushed. But this is another thing, we're too rushed. I just drew a blank on the word, help me out. We're too scheduled. We're overscheduled. And I understand, but kids have to see, that you really mean what you say, and you say what you mean. But it's all about having a family discussion. Don't fix one little thing. Talk about the culture in the house. Let your kids know. I know you've seen me scream and yell a lot, but last night I went to a talk. You'd be interested in this talk, Daniel. Went to a fantastic talk. I learned that I could respond in different ways, and I've been thinking about it. I'm going to do that from now on. I'm going to actually talk different. Like what? That's a good question. Tell me how I respond now. Well, you're always screaming. What about my mood? You're in a bad mood. You know what? You're right. In other words, kids know it. This week, I'm involved with 3 marriages that are headed for divorce. The couple says, how do we tell the kids? I say, how do you tell the kids? Of course your kids they know. They've known this for 6 years. No, they never talk about it. Come on. Your kids know it, and when you announce it, they're going to be delighted. They're going to have their own rooms. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be in the middle, And this is typically what happens. No, those kids know. Kids know what's going on. Yes?
Just to go back to something you were talking about
Yeah.
a while.
I want to get to this unrelenting deep belief, because this is everything. Again, there's the 4 habits. Okay, you may miss on mirroring the moment. No big deal. You may miss a little bit on speaking with respect. We all lose it. You may miss on enforcing the limits. We can't always mean what we say and say what we mean. Life has its constrictions, and we have to be places, and it's hard to maintain that. But this one, folks, you can never, ever miss on the unrelenting deep belief. Not a deep belief, unrelenting. This is where you allow your child to feel like they could fly, that they could accomplish whatever it is, because you believe in them. So no matter how punishing you are, you'll always leave with an unrelenting deep belief statement. Go to your room. You knew not to do that. And I know you know better. Tomorrow is a better day. It's another bite at the apple tomorrow. I know you can control yourself. So you can be angry, but then you modulate and say, I believe in you. We'll get there together, because we're a team. An unrelenting deep belief. Most people have never had anyone in their life. Ever. And I would submit that most people in this room never really had somebody. If we did a show of hands, and we're not, only 3 hands maximum would go up, where your mother or your father really made you feel, Marilyn, when you put your mind to something, there's no stopping you. You're an amazing girl. Really, Dad? You're amazing. And really mean it. And that's why when we see the Academy Awards, and Len has heard me say this many times, you see the actresses hold up that Academy, and this is for you, Dad. This is for my acting coach. This is for you, the director, whoever it may be. You saw in me what no one else did. You gave me a shot. Most children know their parents do not believe in them. I didn't say love them, but love is not what your children need. That's a given. That's like you feed your children. Your children do not need love. Let me tell you that right now. They need guidance and they need respect.
Isn't that considered praising?
No, guidance, no. Guidance is, child comes to you, they have a problem. I'm not getting along with this girl at school. I hate her. She's been really mean to me. She makes fun of my clothes. Wow. Tell me more. Well, she does this. And there's a group, and they have a clique, and they don't let me in. Samantha, you don't like that one bit. No, I don't. What kinds of things do you want to do? I just want to tell her. I don't want to be in your group. Okay, so you have an idea of what you want to say. So I'm going to just keep going. I'm not going to provide the answers for my daughter or for anyone else's daughter. They're going to provide the answers. Why? Because I have an unrelenting deep belief. See, even when they're 3 years old, you should see how I speak to a 3-year-old. Parents think they don't know what you're saying, but they do. Because their listening vocabulary is 50,000 times their speaking vocabulary. It's a listening vocabulary. They get the feeling of what you're saying. They have an idea and they're just toddlers. So we want to be able to show an unrelenting deep belief. I know you understand. You made a full effort. You can decide how to do that. Wow, you did it. You look pretty excited about the way you got that to work. You're working hard on that. You sure know how to be a friend. I love that. Everybody says, good sharing, that phony praise. Don't tell a good sharing. Tell your child, Rebecca, you sure know how to be a friend. Wow, never heard it in that context. Instead of telling your child you love them, I love you, look at your child and say, Jonathan, I love being your father. Reverse it. Wow, I love being your father. I love being your mother. That's a different way to express it than, I love you. Now get to your room. All right.
Yeah, I would still think
This is a boy who, when he was very young, ADHD all over the place. Everybody said he's a loser. Complete loser. Here he is today.
I would lie a lot to cover it up, and even when basically the truth was easier to tell.
There was always contention in the home because he couldn't walk past another one of our kids without pushing him or...
When you walked by him, you always had to kind of be... Anytime you walked by him at any point, you had to be really... Afraid he's going to hit you, okay?
I always had faith in him. And maybe that's just a mother, but I knew what he was deep down inside. And so my whole thing was just holding out until he could realize.
Holding out.
And there were a lot of disappointments along the way. And I try not to make long-term goals for my children in my own mind, because you need to let them develop. But I knew he had it in him.
And I realized this is what I think it is, that my parents were smart enough to look at the long-term perspective and realize that, yeah, we're having battles with this kid, right? I mean, on a daily basis, and it's frustrating, and it can be rocky, but ultimately there's got to be a foundation. I believe that everybody has to have one person that can just be crazy about him no matter what. No matter what, they never gave up on me. And I remember getting kicked out of school for throwing one of those, what's it called, stink bombs there in class. And, my parents were frustrated. They had to sort of say, we've got to correct this. And I remember we didn't have a lot of money back then, and what was in style were spandex pants, shorts. I don't know why, and I'm glad I don't have any pictures back then. And my grandmother, who also didn't have a lot of money, showed up at our house and said, here's a present for you. And she said, it's not because I'm proud of what you did, but it's because I love you. And the thing is, that seems so contrary to everything I've learned so far, that, geez, you reward that kind of behavior, you're going to keep getting it. But I still remember that this person loves me. So
here's a grandmother who showed up. See, we give presents connected to its rewards, that gold star phony system. Great book, Alfie Kohn, Punished by Rewards, The Myth of Gold Star Stickers. I tell parents, don't reward your children when they get grades. Don't give them things. You know when to give them things? For no reason whatsoever. Barbara, look in the back of my car. Why, Daddy? Okay, go look. She runs out. Daddy, what's this for? What's this for? Because of you. What did I do? I know, because I'm just me. Exactly. See, there's the self-esteem. Self-esteem is only related to acceptance. You don't work for self-esteem. You don't work for it. You don't prove anything to mom and dad. You just automatically get it. Automatically. Give things because it's who they are. But don't link it. Don't bribe them. It speaks to the lowest potential of your child. You're doing something because you're paying them. It's disgusting. And children know you don't believe in them. I don't care how much they have. Fundamentally, and how do I know this? Because this is what children tell me. Because I'm a clinician and I work with them. And they come into my office and they tell me who believes in them and who doesn't, and what mommy does and what daddy does, and who does all the bribing. Bribing, it's the lowest common denominator of life. And we're used to it as adults. Men, the boy is gone, okay. You know, a man messes up with his wife. First thing he does is he buys her something. And she takes the jewelry and she enjoys the clothes. But you know something, men? You know what she really wants? You. She wants you to pay attention to her. She doesn't want the stuff. Later she wants the stuff. But first, she wants you. But we can't give those things, so we give the physical things. Oh, I forgot. Get her the flowers. And he's out there with his buddies or doing whatever. It's a failed attempt. Have to have honest moments. And everything I talk about is honest. I don't need to put on an image. Well, doesn't matter what our culture is and where we're from. We're human. They're not religious issues, they're human issues. And we know when there's an honest moment, and we know when someone's phony to us. And there's nothing worse than a phony moment. And yet we're phony with our kids. So the deep belief is the most important thing that you can give a child. There is no clear-cut formula by which a parent conveys faith in a child. Faith is intangible. It's a quality perceived through the presence of feelings, body language, and expressions. It's spoken as much as it is unspoken. It generates energy and inspiration and creates a feeling of well-being. When someone has faith in us, I love this, we are encouraged to face ourselves and express ourselves as the person we really are. Not the person somebody wants us to be, but the person we really are. And we know so many adults who still are not themselves. They're uncomfortable with themselves. You could see it. Always putting on an air, always pretending to be somebody else. Never comfortable with who they are. And that's why we like to be around natural people, because it brings out the best in us. I won't play you this scene. This is from another Robert Redford movie. So there we have it. Reflect or mirror the moment, a deep belief, know how to set limits, and show respect. And finally, what is this? Be consistent. Music, sure. Every note will be played exactly the same way the next time I do this slide presentation, or the way Amadeus Mozart played his sonatas, or Bach. Each note, change it, you change the result. Stay consistent. Let your children know you're predictable. You can be counted on. You have an unrelenting deep belief in them. This isn't easy to do. It's a shifting mindset than what we're used to. And it takes time. We do workshops on this and exercises because it's not intuitive. Don't look to have this come to you with instinct, because most of your instincts will be wrong. and we're about 25 years away from learning that. Parenting is counterintuitive. Counterintuitive. So what you think works, doesn't. But the 4 habits will prepare your child for life so that they'll have successful relationships with others and they'll know how to enjoy their lives. So those are the 4 habits. I want to thank each of you for coming tonight, and I wish you great successes with your families. Okay,
Thank you.
By the way, I'm giving another talk, just so you'll know, March 1st at Hillel Hebrew Academy. And I'll give you the phone number.
The same.
I'm not sure, but I'll give you the. Oh, here it is.
What subject? The same subject?
Bad habit behavior and back talk. And I'm going to be, here's the phone number if you want to do, because you got to do RSVP to get in, I think. 310-276-6135. You know Hillel, right over here, Pico and doing Hillel Hebrew Academy.
7:30.
At 7:30 to 9 in the gymnasium. But you'll call, and they'll give you all the, March 1st, it's a Wednesday night. And I'd like to see all of you there and hear a little feedback on how you're doing with these 4 habits. Okay, and now we're going to head to Len's house for some coffee and some cake. And your families are all taken care of, no problem.
I do want to say that I have tried the mirroring behavior, and it's so interesting because I'll say, you're unhappy. And my husband, because it can work for husbands, is no, I'm not. How would you think that? And I would say, because this isn't how you look when you're happy.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, well, as a matter of fact, and it's amazing.
Right.
So I really, really recommend that. It actually will work.
It's one step of many.
Serious.
But yeah, and, because it just shows that you really, it's not phony. I could see you're angry, but get to your room. No good. You got to lay there a little bit. You got to lay in the brick. Hang with the moment. It's where you don't want anything, because kids all know you want something from them. It's the bath. It's the homework. It's getting to where you got to go on time, getting in the car, stopping this, coming up for dinner, be around. We always want something, and they know it. And so when you hang in the moment, they go, hey, this is kind of nice. And now talk about how to play with your children in ways that you've never done before. That will really encourage a closer relationship. Any final questions or thoughts?
Do you see people private?
Yes, I do.
So can I have a card in case I
In case maybe one day you have a problem. It could happen. Now things are smooth.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? I'll give you my number.
Do you do like support group with
Yes.
family and
Yes.
children?
Yes. If you want to put together.
Really?
Yes, I do. You know, there's a lot of creativity, but we can do that. And I tell you, I wish there were more kids here, because I love when they come up, because I will show you what I do live. No trick photography, real stuff. Kids out of control. I'll show you how I handle it. And then we talk about later what it is that we have to continue to do.
Can you give your number out to everybody? So
Yes, area code 818. So that's Len's number. 818-986-2500.
Can you do it again?
818-986-2500.
So you're in Encino?
I am in Sherman Oaks.
In Sherman Oaks.
Yes,
Do you have any workshops? Brenner.
yes. Yeah, on my website, on parentfitness.com.
Okay, thank you so much.
I hope you got some ideas for you. Yeah. Yes, sir. You're with your son here? Beautiful. It's great to be with Dad, isn't it? Sure is. I can see that. He's enjoying being with you.
Yeah.
How could I? You can.
What time is that?
You know, it's at 7:30. I never mind when kids come, but that's me. But I'm not, I don't put on the event, so it's not my rules. I play by the rules of where I'm invited.
So what do they say?
Children
Children
I don't know, you'll ask them. 310-276-6135.
It's you who give the, if you want to say.
Yeah, and if you want any manuscripts, I have some for you tonight. I write a lot of books.